First things first.
There was no trailer for Avatar 2: The Way of the Water before this movie was previously reported, so until I see proof that that movie exists,
it's a lie.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Ben from the Ben and Bev channel, and I'm excited to bring you guys a review for Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness. Off the bat, the first thing that really stuck out to me with this movie is that it's definitely Sam Raimi's return to form. After a 10-year hiatus since Oz the Great and Powerful, it's great to see him again in the director's chair. His sense for both horror, action, and comedy is a very nice addition to this Marvel slate, especially in this darker part of the realm with Doctor Strange inhabiting it, in a world where we have things like a dark hole, demons, and who knows what else in these multiverses. He's definitely a guy I could see bringing a really interesting and adrenaline-fueled take to that whole side of the universe. And it really is everything that I wanted it to be. We have some of the ridiculous Raimi one-liners accompanied by those crazy zoom-in face shots during action sequences, followed by some dark and grimy creature horror with all these different demons and monsters that come into play. He truly pushes the limits of what a PG-13 movie can do, and he's someone who isn't afraid to pull all these crazy characters from across the multiverse and then dispatch of them just for the sake of shock and awe. This movie has a lot of that, by the way, both in the plot twists and in the stunning cinematic visuals accompanied by that crazy Danny Elfman soundtrack. Also,
Match Made in Heaven having Danny Elfman thrown on Sam Raimi's return film?
Absolutely phenomenal. Did a really great job of keeping us engaged with this really complicated and confusing story, despite it being a mess when you look at it plot-wise. There's a lot of parts of this movie where you're going to be watching and be like, wait, hold up a second, what are you talking about? Characters will just say something out loud and do something, and you're kind of caught off guard, but you're okay with it because it pushes the story forward. With Sam Raimi's direction, you don't really have a time to think about it too long before you're being thrown into the next thing. Though there is a lot of madness within the multiverse, I was hoping for a little bit more cohesive of a plot, but that really is my only main gripe for the film. Actors did a phenomenal job with that enthralling mad energy, whether that's Benedict Cumberbatch totally flexing the different levels of Doctor Strange that he's been working on, a brief appearance from Bruce Campbell, or just the overall abound of crazy multiversal superheroes that we see. Strange's relationship with Wong is once again phenomenal. The two have a really funny relationship since he lost out on being the Sorcerer Supreme due to a technicality. And Xochitl Gomez as America Chavez was actually this really great character that kind of acts as the guide to Doctor Strange as he's going through these multiverses, and though she doesn't know a lot about her powers or how exactly to transcend the multiverses or the rules within them, she still knows enough about traveling through them to guide our lead character. It's actually interesting to see Strange in a situation like this where he doesn't really know much about what's going on around him. His unawareness of the multiverse and the true powers of the Darkhold in the Book of Ashanti do a great job of reflecting him as kind of the human lens into this whole world of the mystic and dark arts. And this driving storyline about helping out America Chavez figure out what exactly she's doing with her powers is a big part of the story, though I will say the main part of the story is kind of weird. They're just looking for these books for most of the movie. At points you lose track of what exactly you're doing, and some really crazy stuff happens that makes that a lot better than I'm making it sound. There's some phenomenal stuff that changes the tone of the story once Wanda gets introduced to play, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Elizabeth Olsen once again is a standout in this film. The way she plays Scarlet Witch is both heart-wrenching and terrifying, and I'm hoping after much of this movie as she was the center focus to see more of her down the road. I mean, she truly is a presence on screen in this film. The biggest element of the story that I thought was a surprise. Like, they teased that she was in the trailer, but a big chunk of this movie has as much to do with her as it has to do with Stephen Strange himself. Despite the messy plotting in the final act, I also kind of felt like the opening part of the film was a little choppy. You weren't really sure where the story was taking you, and though there was a dream sequence, it wasn't quite what that trailer led it up to be. Brings me to another point. Kevin Feige saying that the trailers kind of ruined a lot of the surprises for the film is absolutely true. If you have not seen a trailer for this movie yet, it gives away some pretty big reveals of characters and events that happen later in this movie, and definitely down the road they need to try and keep those spoilers under wraps.
You missed having a stand-up ovation in a theater like you did in Spider-Man by doing that. I mean, seriously, the theater was pretty quiet when some of these reveals happened.
On that note, actually brings me to my wrap-up. This movie actually shares a lot of similarities with Spider-Man No Way Home. The whole messy multiverse plot was definitely an element in Spider-Man, and caused me to have to see that movie a few more times to really tell how good of a movie it was, or if the plot holes really added up to it. My final rating for that film, though I didn't give it on the review, is an 8.9, and I feel this movie lies somewhere in that range, and I'm not really sure where it fits in the grand scheme of things, above that or under it. A very well thought out movie, and they did some utterly stunning things both cinematically and universally, but all those crazy ramifications and character moments that we got were very sloppily put together. Once again, major credit to Sam Raimi for being able to put all those scenes together with all these actors, whether that's finally getting to use his favorite character of Doctor Strange, or getting to bring us the Scarlet Witch that everyone's been waiting for. Everyone in this movie really does get their moment, no matter how big or small that character is. There's also some really great in-jokes to some of Sam Raimi's previous work, whether that was the previously mentioned appearance of Bruce Campbell, or just a subtle line from Evil Dead thrown in there. I think this movie does really bring a lot for everyone, despite it having a lot of horror moments and some legitimate jumps and kind of gross effects,
as well as some utterly stunning casualties.
It overall still has a really fun and joyous tone that a movie like Spider-Man No Way Home had, and I know I keep going back to comparing the two, but something about them really feels like they belong with each other. They did a great job of having these two movies come one after each other. Tone similarities work work really well in telling this consistent story that Marvel's trying to put forward. And though the other parts of the universe aren't really falling into line nearly as much as I thought they were going to in this film, there's the whole TVA and Moon Knight side of things that wasn't mentioned at all. I guess a little bit of a spoiler if you're expecting to see Loki in this movie.
He's not there. Neither is Deadpool. Neither is Spider-Man. Don't get your hopes up.
But I don't really think we needed all that. The little bit of crazy character cameos that we had was just enough to use them for the sake of the story, and it didn't really have as big of implications for the whole MCU as a whole as I was expecting.
Seriously, Loki's ending might have more implications on the multiverse as a whole than this entire movie.
Crazy multiversal roller coaster combined with absolutely stunning sound and visuals crafted a Doctor Strange movie right out of the comics, where Stephen Strange really is just this slightly foolish genius man who's playing with realities he doesn't truly understand. He comes to realize the full ramifications of that, as well as the full ramifications of what his position is in the universe and where it exactly will land him, whatever reality he is in this multiverse. Other than that, there's not any huge underlying themes. The story itself really functions as a supernatural fantasy action epic, and despite all of its messiness, I think overall we get a really adrenaline-fueled and new take on the whole horror and dark themes of that Doctor Strange character. I mean, it probably sits in my top 10, but maybe, I'm not really sure yet. Probably gonna need to see it a few more times. Definitely one you want to see on the big screen too, by the way, because everything about it really works for the cinema experience. The really ridiculous thing about this film, both the final scene of the movie and the first after credit scene act as kind of a right and a left hook to the viewer, taking you completely different directions and introducing you to a new character in that after credit scene that a lot of Doctor Strange fans have been waiting for. Didn't recognize him right away myself, but the actor they have playing him is definitely a big one, and I think that's going to be a big draw going forward as we start hyping up that Doctor Strange 3 in a couple of years. You guys checking out Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness in its opening weekend? Let us know what you thought about it in the comments below, and we'll see you guys next week as me and Bev take on Van Leeuwen Ice Creams. We'll see you guys next time. Ben and Bev, out.